Welcome to the Inner Sovereignty podcast. Today, I have a wonderful guest. Nathan Francis is with us, and he is a coach, writer, blogger, podcaster, and so much more. And his mission is to help humanity step onto the hero's journey path and overcome all of their self sabotage to unlock their innate human potential to live the life of their dreams. How beautiful. Welcome, Nathan.
Hello, Sharon. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be on the other end of the microphone today.
Absolutely. I love it too. Thank you for having me some time ago. That was a beautiful conversation, and we thought it's time for a repeat.
Yeah. If people want to listen to that last chat, I do look a bit different. I had a very thick mustache back then.
Yeah, they might not recognize you. You're just a different person now.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah, so we figured out our tech issues. We
Yeah.
realized we have to press join audio to actually start a
Oh,
Zoom chat.
that was funny. Yeah. I didn't realize we had that button on there anymore. Zoom must have done an update. So, yeah, it was a very
Exactly.
funny little 5-minute period there.
That's what we agreed upon. It's not us, it's a Zoom upgrade.
And it's retrograde.
Exactly. Mercury retrograde.
That's it.
Yeah. So, Nathan, tell us a little bit about your story, your dark night of the soul. What made you want to unlock the human potential in others?
Well, it's interesting. I know I was your typical young male for a very long time, especially you're in Australia for a fair while, so you understand the drinking culture and different things and how the boys are just so programmed to drink alcohol, chase women. You know, that lifestyle was a lifestyle I had for a very long time, 10, 12 years of doing that actually. And it was starting to take its toll on me towards the start of 2020. Um, from numerous reasons. Like I could go so deep here, but I just want to give people an understanding of that I did that lifestyle because I was always running away. I was very good at running from myself, well, mainly myself, but I was good at running away from everything that was going on in my life. I'd always escape. I know as a little boy, I had a buddy of mine when I was like 8 years old say, "Oh, why don't you come around and I've found a website." I was like, "Oh, cool. A website. I don't know." Didn't realize it was going to be naked women and all that sort of stuff. It was my first exposure to porn. So that's how far back I'll go because that's where it started. And I remember looking at those naked women thinking, oh, this is all right. Like those feelings inside like was just coming out and didn't really know how to control any of it. So it sort of just had that dopamine, very much a habit, very much an addiction when I was 8 or 9 years old. And it played out throughout my life. So as you progress through your teenage years, you start going to high school and stuff and you start having crushes on women, but you start seeing them in a different way and I was very sexualized. That's what I'm going here. So I would sexualize women for a really long time. And I remember my first relationship when I was 19, 18, 19, about 10 years ago. And I remember just isolating myself, my friends, my family, becoming this different person when I was dating her. And at the end of it, she cheated on me. So that was sort of like my scarring, my block of ever opening up my heart. So my heart was very closed off for 11 years. And it's been this journey where I've been able to open my heart back up again. And at the start of 2020, I was already like thinking, why am I doing this? Like, why does a good woman come into my life? And I hit the self-destruct button and I kiss the best friend or I ghost the woman or I do something to upset her. But it wasn't until I delved into my own journey where I was like, oh, hang on a minute. There's a block here. Like I've cut this off from ever. Like I've put it, like our subconscious seeks safety and familiarity and
Mm.
it loves us and it wants to keep us safe. So I've had this subconscious belief or this subconscious block of heart closed. Like,
Mm.
don't go back to that place. That's a scary place. She cheated on you. There's heartache there. There's probably a deep rage and anger towards women. So that was the reason why I was doing that stuff. And when it smacked me in the head, it smacked me in the face. Like it was there and it presented itself. And I was like crying and just going through that journey of being like, well, why? Like why? So why and the
Mhm.
how? Like, I always want to know why and how. And that relationship showed me it's like, well, what she did was not okay, but you can forgive, you can move forward, You can also forgive yourself for allowing it to happen. And when I did that, I could feel a shift. I could feel my heart starting to open up again. And yeah. And then I remember setting an awesome intention one night in 2021 where I went and looked in the mirror and said, Nathan, you're not drinking anymore. This is your last night of being that person. And then you start fresh tomorrow, and whatever happens will happen. So that night, I went and just got absolutely plastered, did drugs, did the whole lot, spoke to women horribly like I used to. But the thing was, Sharon, I had this moment on this table at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'll never forget it. I was drunk, I was high. And I remember talking to 3 young girls. Now, I was 25, 26. They were
Uh-huh.
no older than 20. So it's like I was the oldest person in this gathering by about 3 years. And I remember talking to those 3 young girls. I don't know what I was saying, but all I remember is that the table gave out and I just smack. I hit the concrete. My bum just went bang. And I
Mm.
remember that as my rock bottom moment, because I went back to that moment in a healing session a couple of years later. And like my grandfather was standing there and he's like, Nathan, it's time for you now to grow up. And he pulled, like, I remember him pulling me up. I just reached out and grabbed his hand. It was the most beautiful thing.
Wow.
But in the moment, I couldn't remember it because I was so high and so
Mm.
drunk.
Mm.
When I went back, he was standing right there and he's like, Nath, like, it's time for you now to listen to what I have to say and go on this journey of it was time for me to walk the path. But I set the intention 12 hours prior. And during the
Mm.
whole COVID stuff too, I wasn't really drinking anyway. And there was a gathering going on. I thought, oh, well, I'll just go and just have this one last crack at it. And then I listened to a podcast that one of my mentors, Jason Christoph, did with a buddy of mine. A buddy of mine actually referred Jason to be interviewed by a now friend of, like, they're all friends of mine now, these three, Jason, Dale, and Adrian. So this podcast Jason was talking about self-sabotage. And he was talking about alcohol. He was talking about the self-destruct button that I was good at pushing. He was talking about all of our self-sabotaging habits, negative thoughts, um, being pain adverse, running away from pain, and I just ticked every box. I was like, well, shit. I was like, oh, I'm the king of this stuff. So I then reached out to him, asked some help, got some advice and different things, and I was already starting the journey. He opened up his self-sabotage coaching school in December of 2021, and just something inside was like, you need to do it.
Mm.
So I just paid it, did it. He saw something in me, though, which I'm forever grateful for. He saw something in me, which was my potential, that I wasn't quite ready to see myself. And for that, which I have told him since, I'm forever grateful, because he saw something in me that I just wasn't quite ready to see. And once I saw it, it started this whole journey to overcoming mine first, which was opening that heart back up to love and many other things. And to then start my business and my podcast and find my voice and my power was pretty much in those sessions with Jason and some other mentors too around that time, that really saw something in me which I'll reiterate, that I wasn't ready to see. And the beauty of this work now is I see that in others as well, even when they don't see it. And it's like, because I was that person that had someone see it in me. And I've targeted the youth and the young adults of today, because when I was 16 to 24, I didn't have anyone see my potential at all, full stop. And I find it so beautiful, which is the lack of I can't find better word than that, where someone will come to me and I see their potential and I see it in them, and they're only like 16, 17. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I just wish I had that one person see it in me. But it's like, I did at 26, but I just sometimes feel like things could have been so much different had I had that person when I was their age. And for me to be that person for them just warms my heart. Like, it's just a beautiful thing, because I see it all. And they're in these dark places. They're playing their video games. They're smoking the vape and they're drinking the alcohol, and they don't know why they're doing these things. And they come to me and it's like, well, I see your potential beyond that thing. Whereas you may not see it. You may be
Mm.
deeply immersed in that lifestyle, where I see what you're going to do and I see the person that you can be if you just make that choice. And the work I do is I help reprogram that subconscious mind so that you make that choice to be your best self and to live the life of your dreams. And for me, to be able to do that for others is the most beautiful thing, because I walk away from a session with someone and I get a message or something a couple of weeks later, and it just warms my heart to see the growth in others. And I'll share a quick story. I had a client that had 3 sessions with me, moved up here to where I'm living now. And it's like that inspired me to then go, well, I can do this too. And another one that I saw had some really deep, dark stuff going on. And she's a powerful, beautiful soul. And when she steps into the world, onto the world stage, look out, she's already written her first book. She did 3 sessions with me, and a month later got back from a Europe vacation and has written her book, her first book. And I'm like, I helped that.
Mhm.
Like I said things, I did things that are beyond our, deep stuff. And it's like, I helped that. And it's just a beautiful thing. So yeah, to be able to work with our youth of today who are super duper powerful
Mhm.
is just, yeah, it's unreal, Sharon. It really is.
Wow.
It's like I'm in a dream.
It really is. And wow, thank you so much. There's so much to unpack, so much
Yeah,
beautiful information in there. Let's talk about it. So, what I find really
let's go.
fascinating is you said, you were self-sabotaging because of that. Going back to the story where your girlfriend back in the day cheated on you and you closed off your heart, and then you realized, wow, okay, I'm self-sabotaging love in my life because of this experience and what I made it mean about myself, about others, and also that pain that I didn't want to feel again, right? Because that's what the sabotage usually is. We've experienced pain at some point, and now we are smart enough. It's actually a really smart mechanism. It's not a stupid
Mm,
mechanism, it's a smart mechanism to say, no, actually, I don't want to experience this again. And our unconscious mind is protecting us and saying, let's not go there again because that wasn't nice. So, for you to realize that, I think is so powerful. And I think it's such a lesson and such a learning and such a good insight for everybody listening, because this is how it works for all of us, no matter what area of life it is in, right? Could be
100%.
around money, could be around health, could be around anything. So actually, so I would love to ask you, can you explain a little bit more about that process that you went through in order to realize what was actually at the core of that self-sabotage and that blockage for you?
Well, I had a really good mentor who brought up some other stuff that was my subconscious too, which was very, very powerful. But this one in particular, and I was pretty skeptical of kinesiologists and these psychics, but
Mhm.
this woman's so much more than that. And I was laying on a table and I walked through the door, and I shit you not, the first thing she said was, gee, you've slept around a bit. And I was like, okay, you've got me. She just picked it up straight away. And I'm like, okay, you've got me. And she goes, oh, something happened to you at 19. And it's the reason why you're so closed off from love. And that triggered the fuck out of me
Mm.
because I was like, I'm not closed off from love. Like I was in that ego of, oh no, there's a woman there. Shoot, everyone come in. But then once I was able to actually understand it and see it, she's like, and she helped me see it. And I remember laying there going, well, actually feeling that pain. So I talk a lot about feeling the pain. And for me, I had to go back and feel it. So I went back to the moment I found out. And I remember when I found out I was in the shower, actually, because the ding on my phone was on the bench. And I just looked at it and I was like, oh. And I remember just being in a ball of tears. And I just walked up to that guy as me now and just picked him up and said, mate, you don't have to tell that story anymore. Like, that's just one woman in a world full of 6 billion women. Like, not everyone's going to do that to you. And it was so powerful because I just picked him up and held him and said, mate, you don't have to carry this story anymore. You can open your
Wow.
heart back up. You can trust yourself first. You can trust others. You can trust women because they're not going to do that to you.
Mm. Wow, I have
It was
goosebumps.
so powerful. Yeah. It was a really powerful moment. And I did that a couple of times with other areas of my life as well. I remember when I was a little kid, a grade 2 teacher we had a parent teacher interview, and my parents were there, and I was playing Lego on the floor, and I was writing about footy and cricket and being a hero, kicking goals after sirens and having the crowd cheer, and I'm the one getting all I was the hero. And I used to write about that all the time. And the teacher said, and I'll never forget it. And this is when I was like, okay, now you've got me, because she goes, something happened to you when you were in grade 2 at school. And I went straight back there then. And I was
Mm.
like, yep, that teacher said to me. And the subconscious remembers everything. It's just when you're ready to go back and unpack, you'll go back and
Mhm.
unpack. And I remember the teacher saying, she's like, Nathan shouldn't be writing about that stuff anymore. He needs to be writing what we're all writing, information reports and copying,
Mhm.
handwriting, and like rubbish that I never wanted to do anyway.
Mhm.
And it broke me. That kid again, the subconscious put the block up that my writing, my voice is not worthy because
Mhm.
it doesn't meet what the system wants me to meet.
Mhm.
So I went back to that child and I walked up to him and said, mate, that's one person's perception of who and what you can be. And I remember Gina, my
Mhm.
mentor, saying, Nathan, you can be and do multiple things. Her saying that took me back to that moment. And I told that child, Nathan, you can do and be multiple things. Now, that's just be one thing. And then I remember saying, that's one teacher's perception of, again, of a world full of 6 billion people. You're going to find someone that's going to resonate with what you're saying. And
Mm.
that healed, well, not healed it, but that shifted that blockage to then writing my first book in 6 weeks after that.
Mhm.
Like that passion and that drive, that child's energy was just there waiting to be unlocked. And I wrote that book in 6 weeks.
Mm.
That's
Wow.
how powerful this is.
It's so powerful because it's that shift in perspective that
Yeah.
changes how we view ourselves and what we can do. But we got to do that. I call it shadow work to go back to that moment, right? We got to understand the blind spot that we live with. Because if someone else, maybe if that lady had not pointed out, oh, something happened to you at age 19, maybe you would have just gone on living until, somehow that shadow meets you in a different way. So sometimes it's so valuable if other people can actually look at us like you do for your clients. And you're like, I see the potential, I see the blockage, and I can actually point it out and help you and shift it. And then healing can happen so quickly. But sometimes when we marinate in our own stuff and we don't really know what is the blockage, why am I self-sabotaging, what is going on? It can be exhausting, right? Like because we're in
Yeah.
this and we're in the pattern, and oftentimes we have the awareness that we are self-sabotaging or we're in a pattern and we're repeating a pattern, but we don't really see the way out.
Mm.
And then it gets so frustrating because like we're frustrating
Yes.
ourselves, right? Like we're like, why am I still doing this? Like like thinking back, I think I've had many of these moments in my life where I'm like,
The only one.
what is going on? Why am I still doing this? Like you're self-aware enough to understand that what you're doing isn't serving you and it's not
Yeah.
getting you to where you want to go. But at the same time, you're like, what is that screw that I need to turn? What is it? Where is it? And
Yeah,
that's why,
literally. Because,
yeah.
yeah, you're spot on. Because when I was going through the awakening journey, actually before it, I was aware of this stuff. Like I would kick myself and beat up on myself even before I was awakened.
Hmm.
That I was like, why do I treat women like that? And I genuinely did not know why until I actually sat down and had that moment to be like, well, this is why. You're just on a loop. You're on a pattern
Yeah.
that played out. Just kept playing out and playing out and playing out and playing out until I was ready to sit with it and go, right, that enough's enough now.
Mm. The loop. That's actually
And it was definitely a loop.
yeah, oh, for me too. Like I can even see it in my relationships. I saw the loop and I could see that in my relationships over time. I basically had the same relationship with different people.
Yeah, different meat
And
suit.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it frustrated me. I'm like, what is going on? And that was for me, it was not so much, I think, like a one-time understanding of something that happened and that created it, but sometimes there are so many different, like small injuries that add up to maybe
Mm.
not feeling worthy or, yeah, like the self-worth. Sometimes it's not tied to one specific moment in time. Like for you, oh, that was that one moment. I shifted it and now I'm free and I can go. Sometimes I feel people can get a little bit fatigued or they have this healing fatigue or something because it's not that one snap that snaps them back into, oh, now I feel great, now I feel wonderful. And it does take a little bit more work. I'm not even sure why I'm going there right now. Like I'm literally also just letting the thoughts flow through. um but what's coming through for me is like sometimes it's because I love how that worked for you and I wish it was like that for everybody. But sometimes
Hmm.
people feel a little bit more stuck, right? Like they shift out one pattern, but then there is like, like this whole production of more patterns that are just lining up. And there's the
I
next
see
and the
that
next
too.
and the next,
Yeah, I
right?
see it as well. Yeah, I genuinely see it too. And I
Yeah.
know for me, I know they were just two examples, but there I was on that loop too with some other
Yeah.
things in my life as well. But it's just that it's just different for me because once I saw the loop, and they were two pretty deep loops, the
Yeah.
rest of the loop sort of just made sense. I was
Yeah.
able to go to the deep ones and understand them to then make the rest of it just be a bit more, lack of a better word here, easier. It wasn't easier, but
Yeah.
it was
It's,
just easier to see the other loops because those other two loops, I felt like they were like hooks or like
yeah.
these real deep things in my heart that I just ripped out of my body.
Yeah. I like to see them as the core belief system, like the core
Yeah.
problem. And once you take out like the bottom disk, then the whole stack just falls. So you found like the really basic core disks to pull out so that all of the disks just fell down. You were like, okay, now I
Pretty
can deal
much.
with the rest.
Yeah.
It's manageable. But
But
it's
I
also,
think it's different for other people, which you're probably
yeah.
going to say the same thing anyway. I think it's hard if they're not ready to face and we both got the intuition to know that if it's okay to pull the two ones we need to pull out. But I find sometimes we're not dancing around it, but we're ripping out other ones to then get to like I find everyone's different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That not necessarily going to straight to the root, like the
Mm-hmm.
nervous system might shut down a bit,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Depending on the
among other things.
trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The nervous system, but also the trauma. Sometimes it's complex trauma. Like it can be very intertwined and difficult to dissect because if it's
Mm.
a one-time trauma, it's much easier to deal with than if it's complex trauma where you've experienced different types of trauma that contribute to the same kind of trauma over time. It becomes a little bit more difficult to find that peace, to relax your
Yeah.
nervous system, and to come back to that place of feeling safe. Definitely. I just wanted to say a few words basically to let people know because sometimes, you listen to people and then they say, oh, yes, I found this one thing and then everything shifted and my life was great. And we can start beating ourselves up about why is it not that easy for me? Why am I still on this path after years of trying and figuring it out? And I just wanted to say a few words to say, sometimes
Yep.
the journey is not that straight of a line. Sometimes you really find that perfect match, that perfect mentor, that perfect hypnotherapist or coach or whatever it is. And it just, because you're ready for it and you find the right person and it just shifts. Sometimes there is a long time until you're really ready for that bottom disc. And we need to get ready to have that big shift sometimes, and that's part of the journey and it's part of the work to get ourselves ready to really go to the place where it hurts so much or where we think it
Mm.
hurts so much. Actually, then it doesn't even hurt that much. It's maybe a moment of intense emotional pain, but then it dissipates and we're like, okay, this is what I was afraid of this whole time.
Yeah. I was just afraid of a woman cheating on me. Come on, Nathan.
Yeah, and I love what you said about I can trust myself. You can trust yourself.
Yeah,
When you
literally.
had that chat with your other version of you,
Yep.
because that was something that I struggled with after narcissistic abuse. For me, it was actually really hard to trust myself again because I was very afraid that I cannot trust my own judgment because I attracted this person. And that was devastating and really destructive. And because with narcissists, I don't know why it's so interesting where these conversations go, but because
Mm.
there is this illusion in the beginning and you buy into a version of them that doesn't exist. So there's this whole manipulation of reality. And then actually I think trusting yourself and your own judgment is so, so, so important, but sometimes we can lose access to that a little bit. But through human design, we can understand our intuition even more, where it sits in our bodies and how it works for us. But we all have access to it anyways. And if we look back over our lives and we understand when we made good choices from our intuition, we can see the pattern anyway. So we can understand, oh, that's how intuition works for me. So I think that aspect of actually trusting ourselves is so key to everything, and trusting what our body tells us too. Like the intuition is in the body. If if it looks great on the outside and there are no reasons to, for example, say no to a new partner, and you're like, well, textbook, perfect, everything's great. I actually had that. I was like, this is the perfect man. Like there is nothing that I would say he's doing wrong, saying wrong, acting wrong, nothing. But my intuition, my gut feeling, my intuition was like, no, no, don't do it. And it's good because that wasn't my person.
No.
So sometimes we don't know, but something better might be waiting. So how is it for you that what do you think or say to your clients about trusting themselves?
Well, it's a deep one, isn't it?
Mm,
Because usually there's someone in their lives that has done something to them, or has, usually a parent figure, that has taken that trust away. So therefore, if they can't trust that one person in their lives, and how they're going to trust others and themselves. I know for me it was something similar, and it was just finding that forgiveness from within for my parents to say, hey, that's their journey. I'm on my own journey, and I don't have to take on that stuff that was going on around me to be like, well, I can still trust them, because what they were doing had no effect on me. But I was only a teenager, early 20s, feeling like it was an attack on me when it actually wasn't. Because my
mhm,
parents still love me. It's different version of love, but they still love me, and I thank them and love them for everything that they've showed me, because they've shaped the person that I am today. Took me a bloody long time to get to that position, because I held on a lot of anger towards them for such a long time. And I know they'll listen and be very proud of what I'm saying now, because when I first started all of this, they felt like I was attacking them by some of the things I was saying. That's because I hadn't forgiven them
mm,
and been like, well, they did these things to each other. It didn't affect our relationship between mother, child, father, child, but it felt like it did, given what was going on. And for me, I didn't understand it until I work on myself and go, hey, that's their journey, what they're playing out. They're okay with me, and they always have been. And it was
mhm.
just forgiving that, which,
Yeah,
yeah, I haven't been able to say that for a very long time. So I know they will listen and be quite proud of that. And they know I love them, and they love me back. It's different, but yeah, it's an interesting
that's
one. The relationship with your parents plays a part in that trusting of self, I feel.
yeah, so
Because
powerful.
for me, I had some issues with my mum that we've sorted through, which is fantastic. And sorting through those issues has allowed me again to open that heart back up to love again. Because
Mm,
my mum did break my trust when I was growing up, but she's not going to do it anymore.
yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing, because now it's opened my heart back up again.
Hmm. Wow. Goosebumps again.
Mm.
And from a psychology perspective, it is often said, at some point in our lives, we, as probably babies or little children, we have to make a choice between the love and connection with our caregivers and our own truth. So at some point, we actually have to betray ourselves and our own truth in order to be safe with our caregivers, because we know what they expect, we know what they want, and there's a choice to make. Do I stay true to myself, or do I stay connected? And connection is survival. So, probably in all of us, there is this moment in time where we've separated from our truths, from our authenticity, from what is actually right for us, and that trust to ourselves, that just popped in my mind as well when you were talking, because it does have to do with our conditioning in childhood and how we're actually trained away from trusting ourselves, because parents oftentimes, at least in my generation, they always thought they know better than the child. And the child was never really asked, well, what does your intuition say? Well, what do you think is the right thing? And I think it's so important now, contemplating parenthood and the whole dynamic with kids, how important it actually is to
Mm.
empower your kids and to let them experiment while they're still at home, and to support them and empower them to do that, so that once they leave home, they know how to work this world and be in this world and not be sheltered until they go off to college or a job. And then suddenly they're like, wait a minute, what is this world? What is going on? I don't know what to
Well, I was
do.
just about to mention that next layer of that. Then there's the school system, which also disempowers you, which
Yeah.
also don't ask you to trust yourself. You got to conform. And I'm a former teacher, so
Yeah.
the school system really brings up something in me. And if I get passionate, for those out there that are still in the system, I'm sorry, but this is the truth. You conform. You sit, you wait to be spoken, you raise your hand, you cut off, the throat chakra is gone, right? The kids are walking to schools, they don't know anything. The preps are getting taught that you got to wait to speak. So your throat chakra is gone. There's no throat chakra. The kids can't say what they truly feel because they're afraid to be wrong. They don't want to make a mistake
Yeah. Yeah.
because their view of reality will be different to the teacher who's been programmed and all that sort of
Hmm.
stuff too for a very, very long time. So if they say something, oh no, you're wrong.
Hmm.
So how does a teacher live with themselves telling a child nearly every day that they're wrong?
Yeah.
I couldn't even walk in that system once I learnt this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, this is another part of my journey. I was going to be a teacher. I went to uni for 5 years. I took a very long time completing the degree. I know why now, because I wasn't supposed to set foot in a school.
Hmm.
Because disempowering a child, I don't know how I would have been able to cross over into the next life facing that, disempowering thousands of children. It would have destroyed me. Yeah,
Goosebumps again.
I wasn't supposed to walk in there because I
Yeah.
lasted like not even a month and COVID started. And then once I delved in the awakening journey, I was like, that's not a system for me because I'm not
No.
disempowering children. So it's like, well, I want to come over here now, build my own school, build my own system and empower children where they can learn about the subconscious mind. They're not being shown to write resumes and cover letters. They're going to be shown to write business plans. They're going to have entrepreneurs coming in being like, this is how you start a business. This is what you do. This is how you get investors. This is talking to people, relationships. Not, no. We'll just give you a resume. We'll show you to do that. You be a cog in the system. No, that's disempowering you
Hmm.
because then you grow up to resent yourself. You grow up to resent the system because you've worked a job for 60 years that you don't like. Well, you've worked that job for 60 years that you don't like because the school told you and programmed you to be like, well, this is the way you live your life. This is the way life is. That's not the way life is. We
Yeah.
weren't designed to work a job building someone else's dream instead of building our own. We're not designed like that. We're not born like that. We're programmed and psychologically manipulated like that. And if anyone wants a good book to read about the school system, read Weapons of Mass Instruction by John Taylor Gatto. I read the first chapter and that was enough for me. I was like, yep, I've got the gist of this system.
Wow.
Literally disempowering you from the moment you walk in the door. Then you go off to uni, then you do this and do that. You're at school, you're getting indoctrinated and programmed for 20 something years of your life. That's a lot. I know for me, I had to go back and unlearn all of that. I've unlearned everything that I've learned in school.
Same. Same. And it's literally school is just a mirror reflection of you going to work anyway. So it's
Literally.
just sit down, be quiet, do your thing, stare in front of you. Like you're not allowed to walk around to express yourself. So it's really early on, this whole programming, right?
I'll pose you a question, Sharon, and I'll pose a question to your audience too. They can comment on it. We can make it a reel or something, but I'm just going to pose a question. In what world is it okay for families to gather for about 2 hours of the day? Then they have brekkie for an hour, they separate, do things they don't enjoy, come back, have dinner, go to bed, start again. In what world and in what society is that okay?
Literally, I
Someone
I
tell me.
have talked about this so much lately because it's been on my mind. How is it
Same.
okay that you find the people that you love, which is freaking hard? Find that
Mm.
one partner in your life that you really love and you want to spend your life with. And then maybe you have children together. And then every morning you separate and you live a life alone, basically separated from the people that you love and that are important to you. And then you come together, like you say, in the evening, and you maybe sit together for 2 hours, have dinner. Everything is just like, oh, did you do your homework? Do you have dinner? Everything's stressed out. And then you never actually have quality time. And you actually don't live your life with the people that you love because you live it with strangers that you wouldn't even want to be around at some weird workplace. It's getting stressed out. I'm like, what is this? What is
Yeah,
it?
literally.
It's madness,
It
complete
is.
madness.
we've lost our way. And I'm going to go to another layer of this again. I get very passionate about it, Sharon. It just
Me
brings up
too.
something in me
Give it
that
to me.
it just brings me. Kids are like 2 and 3 years old. They're little babies, and they're getting palmed off to the state to raise. Parents are like the state are raising your children. Like parents aren't even raising their own kids because this
Mhm.
system has been and the bloody inflation has made it so hard for
Mhm.
parents to actually be at home.
Yep.
It's wild.
And it's exactly like you say, because back in the day, the man would basically pay the wage of the woman because the woman would do all the non-paid labor at home, raising the kids and all of that stuff. Now it's almost impossible. Like you have to have a really, 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 really good job to have that luxury, like you just said. But like you said, you give your child away to someone else to be raised, to be conditioned until the age of 7. That's what I learned in my NLP training. Until the age
Same
of
here.
7, you're in theta brainwaves, and at age 7 you're completely programmed. So if you spend significant amount of time with away from your parents during that time, someone else is conditioning you, someone else is programming stuff into your subconscious that you then play out throughout your life. And your parents can't really help you because they're not there, they don't even know what's happening, the wounds that you're receiving, what's going on. So in what world does that make sense? It doesn't
This
make sense.
generation are growing up resenting their parents. This is why there's the teenagers that are doing what they're doing now. This is why this is happening.
Mm.
Because those teens that are teens now were being raised by the state 10 years ago when they were like 2 and 3 years old. They're resenting their parents. They're resenting, they're in resentment. You can feel it, you can see it. Like they feel as though that their parents and that their family has abandoned them, which
Mm.
it is a form of that. To
That's
be in that
interesting.
system, and then they're leaving the system and they're deemed rebels, they're deemed, youth crime and all this bullshit. It's like, no, those souls are broken because the system designed them to be like that. They weren't born broken. We're born unconditional, pure love.
Yeah.
The system did that.
Do you work with teenagers where you see them voicing that, or maybe you just see it in their behavior?
I just see it.
Yeah,
And
that's.
I walk and I often venture to schools in what I do, and I
Mhm.
see this and I see it, and it's like I know that system has done that
Where do you?
because it's done
Mhm.
that to the parents too. It's made them go to work from when they were a very young age. So the kid doesn't get any attention. You see it now. Like, there's little kids now. Parents don't give them any attention. They spend like 2 hours a day with the parent. There's some kids are at school from 6:30 or 6 o'clock. Then
Mhm.
they're home with their parents for a couple of hours and they're hitting repeat and going again. So
Mhm.
you got the after school care people and the OSH people raising the children. You got the teacher doing it, and they're the three people that spend more time with the kids than the parents do.
Yeah,
And these kids aren't getting attention because oh no, when mum and dad come home, they're on their phone on a business call or they're not present. The parents aren't present,
yeah, absolutely.
and then it destroys the children. And then people and everyone wonders why these kids grow up to be rebels. Well, that system did that.
Hmm.
And the
Yeah,
people orchestrating this system, you want to get conspiratorial, they know that. That's why this is why it's here.
exactly.
Because they destroy your power, which then in turn maintains theirs. It's all energy. They're just slaves, they're just robots. It's modern day slavery,
Hmm.
you know. You have got the ruling elite at the top, which we had many, many moons ago, the ancients and the pharaohs, and that they're all then the slaves built all the pyramids. It's the same thing now. We're
Yeah.
all building someone else's dream so that someone can go buy an island and do what Jeffrey Epstein done. That's what we're doing.
Yes.
That's what we're doing.
Yes. 100%. It's
And
just.
they're siphoning our energy and taking our
Hmm.
power away, which is maintaining and they're taking ours away. Like money's energy, our time is energy. So where's your time and money being spent? Well, your time's being spent at work building someone else's dream. So where's your energy going? Especially if you're working in a company, it's going to the elite.
Yeah. And it's really you can see it in people and how stressed and tired people are because their energy is being siphoned off through that
Yep.
stress, through the busyness, through never having actually time to contemplate your life and why you're here. That's what you see. People are so busy trying to make ends meet that they never
Yep.
question life. They never question why they have certain patterns. They never question why
This
they're
was
miserable.
this was the beauty of the whole COVID thing. It actually enabled me to slow down and be like, why am I here? Who am I? Why am I
Mhm.
running? And ask myself those questions, set some intentions, and get the help I needed to then shift and do what I'm doing now. If it wasn't for that COVID period, Sharon, I'd still be sleeping around doing, and I don't know where I'd be right now. I don't want to sit in that for too long,
Yeah.
but I don't know where I'd be if it wasn't for the COVID period. So I'm very grateful for it. And a
Mhm.
lot of people aren't grateful for it, even in the truth community. Well, I'm grateful for it because I wouldn't be part and I wouldn't be on this journey if it wasn't for that period.
Yeah. There was this meme on Instagram with Bill Gates like looking sad, and it said above, when you try to what was it? You try to enslave everybody but accidentally wake them up.
That's
That's
what they did with
exactly
me.
that's what COVID did. Like a lot of people actually woke up because they could take that step back and look at their life different.
But this
So,
is the thing, the truth community, Sharon, and we're both in it. And this is what I see. And it's something that's not bugged me, but I get passionate about it as well. Now, we can awaken to the truths of the world. That's fantastic, right? But then we don't go within and learn our own. We just project all of our
mhm.
shit onto the world truth. Oh no, it's Bill Gates' fault. It's George Soros' fault. Oh no, it's Klaus Schwab's fault. Oh no, it's couldn't even tell you who our prime minister is right now. Oh, it's his fault. You know, it's like, well, when are we going to accept some of the responsibility here and be like, well, we take the responsibility to go within? Because once we go within and find out and remember who we are and why we're here, we don't need them to rule us anymore.
100%.
And I
That's
always say, Sharon, you can't fight the system. The system is inside of you. So the truth community is all about fighting the system. That's great. They're all anti this thing. Good. But they're still drinking the beer and they're watching the porn. They're watching the TV shows. They're watching the sport. That's
mhm.
the system too. They're eating the macas and the junk food. That's still the system. So they're all
Yeah.
about beating the system, but they're still like, if you just look, like you follow the money, all right? They drink the coffee. Now, I know how bad coffee is. There's a book out there for people. Go read Caffeine Blues by Stephen Chiniski. Now, I'll give you a fact, all right? You can look this up. Bill Gates and Bill Gates' father. Starbucks was going bankrupt in 1985. Now, tell me why Bill Gates hasn't invested in coffee. So why would him and his old man, Bill Gates Sr., why would they reboot Starbucks in 1984? Someone tell me that. Why would they do that? Why would Bill
Mhm.
Gates have an invested in coffee? And then it's
Mhm.
everywhere.
Yeah,
That's the system.
absolutely. Yeah.
Follow the money. They
And
they 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 invested in the alcohol too. Like, go, who owns the alcohol? Vanguard, BlackRock. Who
yeah,
owns Vanguard, Black? The Rothschilds and the other guys in New York. The big building, who, I
Rockefeller.
don't know who they're called. That's it. They own all of that. That's the system.
Oh,
So the
absolutely.
the best FU to the system is getting yourself healthy, strong,
Mhm.
and wise. Healthy,
Yeah,
wealthy, strong, and wise. And health
absolutely.
is wealth. So for me, I got myself healthy first. I cut all the crap from the system. Organic food, going to farmers markets, or like eating properly, eating real food. Awesome. Then I started going to the gym.
Yeah.
I go every day. That is getting my vessel healthy to be able to then step out into the world and have confidence to then speak. I used to stutter a lot. I haven't stuttered for a very long time because I found the confidence in my throat chakra. I've cleared it to then speak. Getting
Mm.
healthy first was part of that. There's a great
Mhm.
book out there by Paul Chek called How to Eat, Move, Be Healthy. If you want to start there, because that book is the Bible of health. He will show you how to get your body healthy to then have the rest of your life sort of start, like health as well. So then if you get yourself healthy, he'll show you. And then the rest of your life will start to get better from there.
Mm.
It's a great
Amen
book.
to that. Yeah, that's also why I called this podcast Inner Sovereignty, because it's about the sovereignty that you have within yourself. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what's going on outside. But something
No.
that also came to mind when you were speaking was, if you fight, you become what you fight. So even if you're fighting something, you're still part of the something because you're the resistance. And there are always polarities in life. There is the light and the
Yes.
dark. There is the we're doing it and we're fighting it. So you're still participating in the whole game. Take
But
yourself out of the game.
yes, but
Don't
then
play
people
the
are
game.
saying, "Oh no, love and light's the way out." But then
No.
you're discarding your shadow. People say, "Oh no, you need to like get rid of your ego." It's like, well, ego is part of you. Your shadow is part of you. It's not
Hmm.
all light. There's a balance. There's a polarity. You're right. It's like, well, that's another taking away of your power to believe it's all love
Yeah.
and light.
Oh, it definitely is not. And we don't want
No,
to start or participate in toxic positivity because that's not going to get us anywhere. But even if we only focus on ourselves, because it's easy to look outside and to point outside, oh, yeah, the elite is the problem. But if you haven't done any self inquiry and you have not even touched upon your own demons and your own darkness, and you haven't even gone there, because whatever you see outside of yourself is within yourself. So
100%.
that's where you need to start. That's where the clearing and the healing and the fight actually has to be, because um, it can literally like it is actually almost like a fight when you try to take your life back, your power back from these destructive things that might
They're
have
just
gotten into
programs.
you. Yeah, but from a shamanic perspective, these programs come into us through trauma, and then they build and build and build. They pull more energy from us, from our life force, and then they grow, and they can grow into attachments and entities. Just from a shamanic perspective, we can look at it in many different ways. But I like that perspective sometimes, because then we can really see, oh yeah, that's a demon that I've created because of the trauma. And now it's been siphoning off energy, and it's grown and grown and grown. And now it's become a full-blown addiction where I need alcohol to feel okay about the trauma that I experienced. So, but we beat ourselves up about, oh my God, I'm addicted. And we think that's the thing that we need to focus on. But no, you need to go back to, okay, what's the trauma that created this coping strategy? So and we all have addiction. Sometimes it's small things, sometimes it's big things. But we gotta, anyway, like, what's the point of my rant right now? I feel like we need to start within ourselves to do
Yes.
that work. We need to become aware of the darkness in the world, but we also need to become aware that this darkness is a reflection of ourselves and our inner
That's
world, and
100%.
that we're not separate from all of that. And it's not about pointing outward. It's about, okay, if I see this in the world, what is actually going on within me, and how has that affected me, and how has that gotten into me? Because it has gotten into you, because you've been indoctrinated your whole damn life through school and all of that stuff. You've been traumatized and kind of cut off from your power. So we need to
100%.
go and take that back.
And I love it how you said, I say the universe is a mirror and mirrors us back to us our reality.
It
So,
is.
if we're projecting into the world that it's Bill Gates's fault, it's Soros's fault, well, actually it's our fault.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
I find we need, now I'm not coming from a religious perspective here, but I find just forgiveness is huge. If we can all forgive ourselves for allowing all of this to happen in the thousands of years, I find that's going to be huge for humanity, because it's going to help shift that, whatever that is out there. And it's going to help shift us too, because we're forgiving ourselves for allowing all of this to happen. And it's been
Mm,
happening for eons. We're just playing, we talked about loops and patterns. Well, we're all playing out a pretty huge 25,000 year pattern right now.
absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Hmm.
I can tell we could talk about this forever.
We
So
could.
if we just bring it back to the work that you do, the self-sabotage, as a self-sabotage coach, what are some things, if someone's listening right now and they're like, okay, so I realize I self-sabotage, what would be a couple of steps that you would recommend for them to take so that they can start shifting out of self-sabotage in their lives?
Well, the work I do is I help you gain the conscious awareness of why you're picking up whatever it is you're picking up: alcohol, the woman, the man, the whatever it is. And quite often, I just remind, like I did before, I say, you weren't born this way. Like, you were born into a world that has people influencing and programming you from a whole different source, like all these sources. And it starts with 0 to 7. It's the most powerful part of your life. And you're playing out those programs for sometimes your whole life, until you stop and be like, well, and then you see what's been going on. And it's like, well, if your parents drank, then and if alcohol is a big repetitive, like I talk about it on repetition. So if we're going to the gym and we're doing the reps to build strength, it's the same within mind. So if from 0 to 7, alcohol is a big part of your household, then it's going to be a big part of your life moving forward. But sometimes, to bond with our parent, we're of tribal instincts, we're of tribal nature. And for us to bond with our parent, we'll pick up the alcohol and pick up something else to bond with our parent. because we
Mhm.
love, because what we see and what we hear is what we are. And I know for me, because I'll always personalize it, I even went back to the TV shows I was watching. So not only was I watching porn, I was watching the American Pie. So I wanted to be like Stifler. What was
Mhm.
Stifler's character in American Pie? It was the immature child in a man's body talking about women and how many he would get. That's the guy I thought was a king and was cool, and that's the guy I was acting out. I was also watching Friends, so Joey was the same thing again. See where
Mhm.
my program is coming from? It's not just
Mhm.
the porn. It's not just the TV. I was
Yeah.
listening to Eminem talk about bending girls over and doing drugs and alcohol. What was the life I was living out? So it's the
Mhm.
music to what you're hearing.
Yeah.
There's so many influences. Then there's the school system, right? What do the teachers do on the last day of school? They all go and get drunk.
Mm.
You're being programmed from all of these influences. And
Absolutely.
the beauty of this is, though, Sharon, you have the power to change them at any time just by pressing the off button or the unfollow button.
Mm.
That's up.
Yeah.
Be like, are you listening to music that is sex, drugs, alcohol, etc.? First step. Okay, read the lyrics to the song. Is this song programming me to be a certain way? Most likely, yes. So maybe don't listen to that music and we can replace it with a hypnosis recording. We can replace it with meditation.
Mhm.
TV show. Were you watching Friends? Were you watching American Pie? These are the questions. If you're watching American Pie and Two and a Half Men like I was on like Charlie Sheen and Stifler,
Mhm.
maybe stop watching that show and replace it with an empowering video.
Yeah.
Maybe replace with Sharon's podcast, replace with mine, because we're empowering
Mhm.
you. We're reprogramming you too. We're empowering you. So maybe listen to our stuff. Maybe listen to someone else. Find something else. Watch something that's educational. No, don't go on National Geographic and watch and watch a documentary. Maybe jump on BitChute, Rumble, a Freedom platform, and maybe start with some documentaries about what's really going on here. A good place to start might be the documentary Vaxxed. That's what I started with. Maybe start with that.
Mhm.
And maybe just do some research on what your leader doing. Maybe research Rachel Vaughan, Fiona Barnett, and Rena Michelson. They're Australians that have been victims of some really horrific crimes here in Australia, some abuse and rape. That's sort of where my awakening started, was reading their testimonies and going, okay, well, the leader doing this with COVID, that's a satanic thing. We're putting all this on.
Mhm.
So this is related. Oh, okay. That makes sense. So they're abusing all of us by doing that. All right, gotcha. And then maybe go, okay, so I know all this about the world. Then go, how can I help change the world? Well, I'm not going to go on and rip Anthony Albanese out of the head office of Australia, but I might start going to the gym. I might start an online business. I might write a book. I might sing a song. I might do that dance. I might do something that brings me joy. Then I
Mhm.
might buy Paul Check's book and read How to Eat, Root, Be Healthy and start taking back control of my health. And then going, okay, so that's the system. So by you ridding yourself of that system and asking those hard questions of why you are the way you are is the way to get out of it. Yes, it's hard, but that's the beauty of the work we do. We have a hand. Grab our hand and ask for help, because that's another program, Sharon. I know my parents' age group. Crying, men crying's weak, sign of weakness. Or like there's moments in my life where I've cried. Like I cried last week.
Yeah.
Whereas my dad's generation, they won't cry because crying is a
Mhm.
sign of weakness. Asking for help's a sign of weakness. So they're stuck where they are.
Mhm.
It's up to
True.
us to put our hand out and ask for help and break these cycles, break these generational patterns. Because all your parents are doing is they're showing the love that they had from their parents and their parents and their parents. We're all here to break that cycle. We're all here to change this world by breaking that generational cycle. And that's the beauty of the work we do, is we can help show you the love that you can have for yourself that's always been there. It's just got emotions and programming attached to it. We can rip
Mhm.
those out, reinsert new ones, and you can go out and be awesome.
Exactly.
Sounds easy. It's hard. There's a lot of tears, a lot of pain. But I'm telling you,
Processing.
I see light at the end of the tunnel in you. I see your potential. My hand's out, and it can just be a free chat.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And the very first thing that you said is key, the awareness. And often we cannot find our own blind spots. So it's so important to reach out to people that you feel you can trust, you feel your intuition is guiding you to them. So just take that step and get the help and the support that you need to, yeah, change
And I
your
love what you
habits.
said in the last podcast. You touched on it. I don't really give my clients homework either because there's all this stuff, oh, meditate, oh, exercise, oh, all a list of things you got to do.
Yeah.
Just do something that brings you joy. Just start there. If it is exercise, then exercise. If it is meditating, then meditate. If it is journaling, then journal. And the rest
Mm-hmm.
will come.
Mm-hmm. True.
And I know for me, when I started this journey, I wanted to be perfect at everything, which is another program I had. Progression, not perfection, and you'll get there. Like, you can't just simply quit porn, quit alcohol, quit smoking, quit all of these things, because I sort of did that and I was like lost with where I needed to go from there. It's like, you can just be like, if you just set a goal and set an intention like I did, just one, but I quit everything, but quit the alcohol, start there and give yourself a hug and be like, well, I'm so proud that have had 2 or 3 weeks of sobriety, and just be like, that's a really beautiful thing to be proud of. And just
Mm-hmm.
start there. Just pick one thing. Don't do what
Yeah.
I did and pick everything and try and uphaul your life in the matter of 4 weeks and just really go for it, which I did, but I had to learn the lesson of, well, why am I trying to be so perfect? Where's that come from? Just that child in school that wanted to be a perfectionist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Just
think,
start with one thing. Pick one thing
yeah.
that you can set an intention for. And then if you do go back, don't beat up on yourself and don't be negative. Just be like, well, okay, well, what's the lesson here? And be proud that it might have been 2 or 3 weeks. Be proud that it might have been a couple of months, because then that resistance will get longer. For me with porn, I couldn't just quit porn, even though I did. It was like the urges were just beyond wild.
Mm-hmm.
I was just proud of myself for going 3 weeks and then 4 weeks. And then like it just kept, the resistance got longer and longer and longer.
Yeah. That's such an important point, not to beat up on ourselves as we are healing, as we are changing, because it's
Mm,
hard. It's hard to
it
change a
is.
pattern. What do you usually suggest to
Habit.
your clients? Because
Well,
once
it's,
you
yeah.
wait, let me ask the question.
Sorry.
Maybe you already know what I'm asking.
Yeah, I do. Sorry.
So once you let go of one habit or one pattern, often there is this vacuum, right? And it wants to be filled. What do you usually suggest people do with that space that suddenly opens up that doesn't get filled with the addiction?
That's the thing. It's finding something else. So if it's the repetitive thing of coming home from work every day and cracking open a beer,
Yeah.
well, can you come home from work and crack open a bottle of water? Can you come home from work and maybe give your child a hug and give it the attention that it so desperately craves? Like, there's always something else we can be doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's like, well, I often ask, well, did your dad or mum do that? And it's often yes. So
Mm,
you're that child yourself wanting that attention from mum and dad because they're cracking open a bottle of beer every night.
yeah.
So it's becoming consciously aware of that. And then it's like, well, how can you shift that? Well, go and spend time with your kids. If you haven't got kids, maybe come home from work and crack on a bottle of water or brew some kombucha or, you know, put
Find
on a
something that
meditation,
fills
go
you
for a
up.
walk. Yeah, something that fills you
Yeah.
up, not,
Yeah.
unfortunately, poisons you and destroys you. But it's
Absolutely.
not poisoning you and destroying you. It's destroying your innate human potential.
Yeah. Well, it's also your body sometimes, right? Like sometimes it really does destroy our bodies, some forms of addictions.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's easier said than done sometimes. And sometimes
Yeah.
people find it's not as easy as just crack open a bottle of water. Well, it's just us and having that time for self-reflection to go, well, what does bring me joy? Because obviously you're not feeling joyful if you're cracking a bottle of beer every night. So there's something there in your life that's not bringing you joy. And you're trying to numb
Hmm.
that with the beer or the coffee or the smoking, whatever it is.
Yeah. We're back at
It's,
awareness. Become
yeah,
aware of what's really going
self-reflection.
on. Yeah.
Mm.
I love that.
And
Well,
the most beautiful piece of advice I can give someone, Sharon,
hmm,
is reach out and ask for help. And if you're 70, if you're 17, it doesn't matter, because we all still have that innate human intelligence. It doesn't matter how old we are.
Yeah.
And the journey can be propelled forward quickly if you ask for help. You can't do all this on your own. I know if I had have done this on my own, I'd probably still be in the trenches.
It speeds things up so much.
It does, because I had people that saw something in me that I wasn't ready to see.
Yeah,
And because they saw it in me and helped me see it in myself, that's when it started the journey.
absolutely. I love that.
Mm.
Beautiful words to finish on, I feel.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Nathan.
No worries.
What is your book called so that people can find it?
Um, it's called Breaking Free. It's a teenagers and young adults guide to identifying their addictions and overcoming them.
Oh, amazing. So they can
Yeah,
find
so
that
it's
on Amazon.
they can find that. They will be finding that on all platforms soon. It's going to be published in the next few months. I wrote it 2 years ago.
Ah, okay, wonderful. I love that. So we'll
Yeah,
put your link tree in the show notes so that people can find you, find everything that you
everything's
offer.
there.
Yeah, perfect. Everything is in there. So they're going to find that in the show notes and they can reach out to you if they resonate with you and want to have a chat with you and see how you can help them. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for this powerful conversation today. I feel like there was so much in it on so many levels for so
lots of
many
passion
people.
too.
I feel so. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to the next time.
Yes, can't wait. Thank you for having me, Sharon. Appreciate it. We'll get you back on my show again.
Yes, thank you so much, Nathan.